Welcome to the E.A.T podcast, episode number 31, season 2 premiere. We're just waiting for the ink to dry on Russ's contract, and he'll be joining us for second season.
I'm coming.
He's coming. It's coming through the fax machine right now. We'll carry your pigeons.
I'm coming. Technical difficulties here.
Oh, Russ, here we go. Starting it off with a bang.
Just a little hesitation here. I needed the right cocktail.
What's up, buddy? How you been?
I'm doing good. Been under the weather lately. I'm back on the mend.
All right. Well, we had a couple of weeks off, and it was intense negotiations. And tonight is the season 2 premiere, episode number 31 of the E.A.T podcast, and we have a very special guest. For those of you guys that don't know, Benzinga is one of the largest outlets for financial news in the investing community. The company produces anywhere from 800 to 1,200 headlines a day, puts out anywhere from 80 to 150 stories a day as well, sends out daily newsletters, has a premium service called Benzinga Pro. They have a monthly subscriber fee for that, ranging from $99 to $347. Benzinga has about 25 million readers per month and about 1 million subscribers to its emails. The company also hosts several big events each year, including the Benzinga FinTech Awards, Benzinga Global Small Cap Conference, the Benzinga Crypto Festival, and an event that I actually attended in October, the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference. Benzinga is one of the premier financial news reporting outlets in the country, and Spencer Israel is the executive producer of Benzinga TV. Tonight on the podcast, we're going to have Spencer on. So welcome to the E.A.T podcast, Spencer.
Oh, wait,
Hey,
we're
buddy.
live now? We're live now?
We're live. How are you, buddy?
Oh, hey, how we doing?
How you
Good to be
doing?
here. I'm doing. How we doing?
Welcome.
Hey, this is weird for me. Usually I'm in your position, so this is unusual for me to be on the other side of the glass.
All
I'll
right,
do my best.
So you just sit back, sit tight, and mix a drink, and we'll shoot some stuff at you, answer a couple of questions, and then you'll be on your way. It's
Good deal.
painless.
Good deal.
Oh, the tables have turned.
So for everybody that watches the show and watches Benzinga, I was on Benzinga Live a few months ago, and I was on with the guys talking about some stocks and the Benzinga Capital Conference, and that's how we all got together. So we've been going back and forth, and I figured why not have Spencer come on and have him into our world since I was brought into their world. And I just figured why not do it for the premiere. It's season 2 and we're ready to go. So here we go. All right, Spencer. So you're from East Brunswick, New Jersey, going to high school there, right? It's not too far from New York.
How do you know that? Yes, that's true.
Yeah, there is a thing called Google. I'll give you my sources. There's a thing called Google, and when you put your name in, some stuff comes back, and some stuff is good, some stuff is bad.
Well, I'm a difficult person to Google for.
You are. I'll tell you, you are.
Because if you Google my name, Spencer Israel, all you get is search results about Richard Spencer talking about. I've done this before, so I know. You get search results for Richard Spencer talking about Israel, right?
Wait a minute. That's a thing. Googling yourself.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
Yeah, you can set up Google that when someone looks for you or a news article drops about you, it comes back to you as well. I mean, Google is pretty good.
I do got to say, though, the look on his face when you said East Brunswick, New Jersey, there was a small part of me in there that was kind of like, please be wrong. It'd be great.
Well, I'll tell you, if it's wrong, Spencer's LinkedIn profile is wrong. That's where I got that from.
All right.
Yeah,
I'd love for him to turn around and be like, yo, I'm from fucking Wisconsin, man.
That'd be awkward. No, but I am from New Jersey. That's correct.
All right.
Yep.
And then you went to University of Maryland College Park and got a bachelor's in journalism. Let me ask you, was the plan for all of this going through school to be in marketing, be in journalism, be in writing, TV? What was the thought process? I mean, eventually we're gonna get into how you landed at Benzinga, but what was the thought process in school?
It's not doing what I'm doing now. That's for sure. No, the thought process was I was like, I love sports. Sports. But I am an unathletic Jew, and so I would have no future playing sports. So it would have to be some other way. And so I thought, oh, I like to write, so let me just write about sports. So that was my thinking, right? Is I went to school and I studied journalism, and the idea was to go into the sports media. I had internships at newspapers, internships at magazines. I did some radio. I tried to cover my bases, but the idea was something in the sports media, probably written.
Okay.
That was the plan. Yep.
And then somehow you landed at Benzinga, which we'll get to.
Not doing sports at all, but yeah.
So let me ask you, what was the first job out of college? Where did you go out of college? Did you go into a sports firm?
Yeah, my first job out of college, I was a freelance researcher for the MLB Network.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I did that for a season. And it was actually kind of a fun job. My job was basically I had two jobs because there was the morning shift and then there was the night shift, depending on which shift you worked. But the morning shift, every day the research team they would have to just spend their morning looking up stats, like really obscure stats. And
I was supposed to say that.
Yeah, and
the last team to do this and the last team to do that.
Well, like for example, I don't know, Clayton Kershaw, who starts tonight, is 4-0 with a 0.54 ERA in his last 3 starts against this team. Whatever,
okay.
you get the gist. And so we would each be assigned a game, or more than one game, and we would have to deliver a page of these stats that would then get printed and then passed around to the entire network. So later that night, they could say, for example, but Clayton Kershaw was 5-0 in his last whatever. And so that was actually a lot of fun, and there was a lot of pressure to think of to discover stats. It was the whole morning was spent looking at baseball stats. That was pretty fun. The night shift was actually even more fun. I would basically just have to watch the games, and note what kind of interesting stuff happens, and then make sure that the interesting stuff was set to to be talked about on the nightly highlight show, quick pitch. I would have stats for every highlight that they would every some voiceover stat. That was also fun. It was a fun job. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna lie. That sounds actually pretty.
It sounds
pretty
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, so here's what I'll say. It was really fun, but after one season, I love baseball, but I was baseballed out.
Really?
I hear you.
Yeah. They are upset. I thought I love baseball. No, they love baseball. You know what I mean? After one season, I think I didn't watch it. This was for the 2013 season. I don't think I watched one baseball game the following year. I was just so burnt out from baseball all the time.
All I can think about is looking up obscure stats. Did you ever watch the show Brockmire?
Oh,
it's on my list. I have an app of all the shows I have to get to, and that's on my list.
Brockmire is great.
It's absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
That's all I think about in my head now, is thinking up obscure stats. Jerry here, bottom of the first, and all I can think about is that Jerry's the first person on 3 consecutive Monday nights to strike out 4 times.
Yeah. Well, the funny part is my dad used to always make fun of me that that's all I would do as a kid, and then my first job at college I got paid to do that, so I was like, yeah, joke's on you.
Yeah. It does seem like one of those cool jobs. If you had a job in we're big hockey guys, Russ and I. So if we're working in the NHL war room or the situation room where all the replays go through and all the reviews, that seems like it would be cool. And that seems like something that you were doing for baseball almost. But that would be a dream job for me.
Yeah. It was a cool job.
I gotta ask you that. You're a sports guy. You're from Jersey. Are you fucking Devils fan?
So as you know, of course, when you are from where we are from, there are typical allegiances, but typically you're a Mets. What is it? It's Mets, Jets.
It's Mets, Jets, Islanders.
Islanders,
right.
And Yankees, Giants, and
Rangers. It's Giants, right. So I am a Yankees fan, first and foremost. I am a Devils fan. I mean, I'm from New Jersey. I am not a Nets fan, though. I'm a Knicks fan. And part of that, I enjoyed the Nets when they were really bad, but once they got good, they became insufferable, and the Knicks sucked, so that made things worse. So yeah, Knicks, Devils, Yankees, and to be honest with you, my football team is my fantasy football team. That's the truth. For whatever reason, never really grew attached to either the Jets or the Giants. I'm not really sure why.
Well, it's probably a good thing you're not a fan of either right now.
Yeah, I mean,
not a
yeah.
fan of either one.
Right. Okay, if I'm being really honest here, growing up, there was a couple year span where I like legitimately rooted for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was like partly ironic, but yeah, that's the whole.
That was because the color scheme that came out, and they were the new team, and everyone was like, "Oh, teal. Teams don't have teal."
I'm not gonna say you're a liar. That may have been a reason, but it was not the only reason.
I think of like the teal starter jacket with the hood and the front pocket back in the day.
It was sweet color scheme, man, and their logo is nice.
I know you had no idea, but I'm a Colts fan, so you just bringing up the Jaguars right now was a shot in the heart.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Okay, if whatever, I haven't rooted for the Jaguars in I don't know, like 15 years. So
Still, it's just saying that name.
We're gonna have a funeral and a ceremony later after you leave us.
Sorry, man. That was a tough one. If it makes you feel any better, a lot of people lost money betting on the Colts. So I don't know if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So, how did you land at Benzinga after?
Yeah.
So you're in MLB. I mean, MLB seems
bounce around a bit, or
it seems like a dream job.
Yeah.
You're in MLB. You're in sports. That's what you went to school for. It's what you wanted to do.
Yep.
Did you bounce around a little bit more and then land at Benzinga? Or
yeah. So the MLB job was never permanent. They hire up for the season, and then when the season ends, they just like let everyone go. Right. That's how all the networks do it. So I knew that going in. So like October rolled around. Right. The season's over. And I was like, oh shit, like I don't. Oh, can I curse here, by the way? Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let it rip. Let it rip.
I was like, shit, like I don't have like a job, and that's basically how things went for me. And then I had a couple of like I freelanced for a while for a couple outlets. I had a couple like non-journalism-y jobs. I did some like temp work for Deutsche Bank, ironically on Wall Street, but it had nothing to do with like stocks or anything like that. And I actually like for a brief time, I worked at Macy's. I was a holiday help at Macy's. I went through like a quarter life crisis when I was like 23 and I like didn't know like what I was doing with my life at all. And then when I was 24, my dad was connected to someone that used to work at Benzinga, or someone my dad worked with used to work at Benzinga. This is in 2015, and so Benzinga got a hold of my resume somehow, and they said, "Hey, do you want to like come out here for like an internship?" And I was like, "You mean move to Detroit, a place where I know nobody, for a company that I've never heard of, doing a job I don't know how to do? Yes, sign me up for that."
Cold winters, lake effect snow.
Right, that's what I did. No, but I thought like, hey, I'm 24. I am not married. I have no kids. Like I've lived all my life on the East Coast. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now, right? So I just ripped the Band-Aid off and I just packed up my car and drove.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. At that age, why not take a chance and do it?
Why not take a chance, right?
Too bad it wasn't out in California, though.
That would have been better weather for sure. The winters here are pretty brutal.
So let's get into Detroit real quick. What is it like there with the sports scene? You're a big sports guy. I mean, you got the Lions, the Pistons, the Red Wings. I mean, the Tigers. You're a big baseball guy, but I mean, it's miserable there, right? Like, there's nothing really going on with sports.
So I've definitely adopted the Lions as like my home away from home team. Again, because they're bad and like they're lovable losers, and I really feel bad for them. I don't know if you guys saw this stat. I'm pretty sure. I think it was 2019. The four Detroit sports teams set the record for most amount of losses in one calendar year.
Oh,
the four pro sports teams, right? Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, they're bad.
Wow.
Well, no, you gotta think though. You had the 0-16 season was close to around there for the Lions. You had the Red Wings were pretty much in despair.
That's when the Red Wings won the lottery and didn't. They had 2 picks in the top 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, you had the Tigers dwell in the cellar. I mean, it was the opposite of Boston for a couple of years.
Yeah. It's actually stunningly, impressively bad. They've gotten a little bit better. But
Yeah, I guess the Tigers are going to spend some money when baseball gets back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
After the lockout's over. So it seems
Yeah.
like they're in the mix for Correa. So they're looking to spend some money. The Red Wings seem to be turning things around. They got a good young team, and you got Eiserman now running the show. I mean,
Yeah,
if he
that's
can do what he did in Tampa, forget it. You're off to the
That's-
races 5 years from now. Forget it. You're going to be one of the best teams in the league.
that's what everybody wanted, right? It was Eiserman. So
It's
yeah,
it's the Pistons and the Lions. Where when are they going to get their act together and turn it around? Because they're both the laughing stock, right?
yeah, but also like something that we're not used to where we're from is there's also the college aspect of this. So like people here will gladly talk your ear off about Michigan and State, right? And just conveniently forget that they have professional sports teams. But there's a lot, like I'm definitely envious of that because we don't really have that where we're from, but there's a lot of big time college rivalry. Like it's important here, which is awesome.
So keeping with that theme for a second, Michigan and Harbaugh is a big talk right now in the NFL. So it came out the other day that he will entertain offers or he will discuss things. What are you hearing on your end of things over there? Because as a New York guy, honestly, if the Giants or Jets hired him tomorrow, do it. I don't care. Let him run the whole show. That was the big thing in San Francisco was he clashed with the GM. Let him come here and run the whole show for either team. I don't care. What are you hearing over there? Is this just a ploy to get more money out of Michigan, or is he really thinking of leaving? What's going on over there?
I'm so unplugged from that situation. I will say that the co-host of our morning show, Joel, is diehard Michigan fan. Has had seats for 50 years at this point. He echoes your point that it's just a ploy by what he thinks it's a ploy by Ohio State to create a distraction. But
create a distraction for Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny that the owner of the Dolphins, Stephen Ross, who is a massive donor, is a graduate of Michigan, is a massive donor to the Michigan. The Michigan Business School is named after him. It's the Ross Business School. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be the guy to take Harbaugh from Michigan." So I just thought that was pretty funny.
Which I thought that was odd because if Harbaugh says tomorrow, "Yeah, I'm going to go to Jacksonville," I think that Stephen Ross should throw him an armored truck of money and say, "Hey, if you're leaving Michigan, at least leave for me, being the guy I am. Why go somewhere else?" So I mean, when he put out that statement, kind of like, I don't know about that.
But by the way, I just switched. Is my audio way better? I just switched my audio. I realized it wasn't.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
You sound fine.
The whole thing is comedic to me. I don't personally I don't think he's leaving. That's just my uninformed opinion. But
you never know.
Yeah,
it's always about money.
Yeah. Well, he has carte blanche to do whatever he wants at Michigan. So,
what do you think your biggest culture shock was moving from Jersey to Detroit? Just
good question.
Food wise. I mean, it's got to be.
Food, drink, girls, restaurants, nightlife. Tell us about it.
So when I first moved here, I moved. I didn't really have a lot of time to do any research or anything. Because I ended up going on a trip to Israel, and I moved right after I got back, the 2 days later. So I found a house on Craigslist. Where a guy was just renting out rooms, and I was like, "Yes, can I live with you here?" So I did that.
Could be a murderer for all we know.
Well, yeah. So this is 2015. Detroit has been on a very slow but steady comeback over the last 10 plus years or so. And at the time, the neighborhood that I lived in hadn't quite experienced gentrification yet. So it was pretty run down. I lived in this house from September until May the following year. And in that span, I think 4 of my roommates had their cars either stolen or broken into. And I had a couple of friends visit me, and they were like, I had a couple of friends visit, and they were like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing here? You're living in squalor."
Why are there bars on every window?
Yeah. I mean, they're, dogs, just stray dogs would just wander the street barking at night. It was one of those situations. Definitely don't leave your car out on the street. Park it behind the house. But now I actually have coworkers now that live on the same street where I lived on 7 years ago now. And it's total. There's a freaking microbrewery on the corner. Like,
See? Yeah,
that was not
that's
there when
what
I lived
happens.
there.
That's what happens. You moved out, and all the fun
Yeah.
stuff moved in.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a bit of a shock. It was just like living in like a city that was really pretty run down. A part of the city, at least, that was pretty run down. Yeah, I had some interesting experiences. No doubt.
You miss the bagels, the pizza?
Oh, you don't even know. So so the bagels in Michigan are terrible. I was able to find one half decent place. It's actually called Jersey Bagel. Their bagels are
It
not
always
bad.
is. New York bagel, Jersey
Yeah, New York
bagel.
bagel, New York pizza.
The Chinese food is decidedly below what we're used to.
Really? I don't see. That's one thing I don't understand. Is people say that around the country that the Chinese food, but I don't see it. I don't see it. Kung Pao chicken is Kung Pao chicken. It's not like it's not like you're making bagels where it's the water.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's just not the same. Although you know what we have here that we definitely don't have in New York, at least not where I grew up. I didn't have a lot of exposure to like Middle Eastern cuisine growing up. Okay. There was a massive Middle Eastern population in southeastern Michigan. And the Middle Eastern food here is like ungodly good. It's so good.
I've heard that Michigan has a massive Michigan and Minnesota have a huge Islamic population.
Yeah, well, in Michigan, in Dearborn, which is where the Ford headquarters is, which is right outside Detroit, there's a large group of Chaldeans, which are basically Iraqi Christians, as I understand it. And yeah, the food is like unbelievably good. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. Like, obviously, the water and New York pizza and bagels and stuff. Yeah, I get it. You can't have that in the Carolinas or in California or whatever. But
no, the bagels suck. The bagels suck. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. Bagels are terrible here.
All right.
So you land at Benzinga, and Jason Rasnick is the CEO there. He's got a fascinating story. The guy basically started Benzinga in 2010 from scratch in his basement, basically in Alabama. Mm-hmm. What's it like working for him, and what kind of guy is he?
He is, wherever you see, if you've ever seen Jason before, if you've seen him on Twitter or seen him on like a stream or whatever, and he is exactly the same way all the time, right? He is like, he is himself always. He's very, very like go. Him and I, it's interesting. Like, I've definitely like learned a lot about what it takes to start a company just by watching Jason, and he is pedal to the metal like all the time. And that's what it takes, really, like to you have to be kind of crazy, right, to start your own business. And he did it, right? And it takes just an endless amount of energy, which he has, and the guy is like constantly pushing up roadblock, find a way around it, right? Just constant. It never stops, and it's been inspiring to watch over the years, because there are times when like I'll get discouraged, and he even if he gets discouraged, he doesn't show it. He just like keeps pushing. He just keeps going. It's very impressive.
It's a great story. I mean, it basically started out like a business financial blog, and now it's a hundreds of millions of dollars worth of a company now, basically. Where a few months ago, a private equity firm bought into you guys for several $100 million, is what it was reported. And let me ask you: so that company comes in, they buy a piece. Jason's still going to be in charge and run things the way he's running. But what's going to be changing with Benzinga, down the line with these new guys coming in, and what are they bringing to the company since they came in? What have they brought in expertise that you guys might have lacked, or what have they made better for you guys that you might have improved on?
So it's definitely early days yet. The deal was only announced in October, right? So it's only been it was like mid-October. So it's only been a couple of months. So not a lot has changed like on the day-to-day front yet, though it will. But like the main thing is Berkshire Capital, their portfolio companies they have a ton of experience in media, right? In different media verticals, whether it's like healthcare, right, or advertising, and in our case, right, finance, right, and their experience with their other media companies in their portfolio is basically like the reason that like Jason like decided to partner up with them, right? So they, for example, know how to run conferences. They've been doing conferences for a long time. They know how to just leverage, advertising and different platforms, and because they've done it with other sites. And so to answer your question about what's changed for the moment, nothing really. I mean, again, it's early days yet, right? It's only been a couple of months, but we are extremely excited. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you because I've been with this company now since 2015. It's been 6.5 years for me. I literally remember when our revenue was like a couple $1 million, like for the year. And I remember when we had like 30 employees, and now we have 150 employees and another 50 or so, contractors or more probably.
Yep.
Our revenue is like 10x. And it's just, and now we have like, a real partner behind us, and it's like night and day from like when I started here. It's actually, it's like almost emotional to like think about like how far we've come.
Yeah, it's a great story. And Benzinga obviously in the financial news and investment business. Do you see them? I'm going to label it a way, which I don't even know if this is the right way to label it, but do you see them maybe expanding into like the Barstool type of company down the road? And I don't mean that it's going to become Barstool, because obviously the financial sector where you guys are is your bread and butter. But do you see maybe them branching out and streaming podcasts, going to events, gambling, sports coverage in a certain way where Barstool kind of does it? Do you see maybe that could be a way to go down the road?
There's a lot to be learned from Barstool just in terms of like how they approach like sports content. There's a lot of lessons that we can apply to like financial media. Obviously, it's not quite the same because there are many more rules and regulations in the world of finance, and people are more buttoned up about things. But there's like the way they like basically the core of it's not even the Barstool model. It's actually like the Howard Stern model, right? Like they kind of borrowed his model, which is like personality is everything and everything is content. Everything is content, right? The producer meeting, but the show before the show. And then there's the show, and there's a show after the show. And that's all content. Everything is content, right? There's a lot that we can definitely learn from that, no doubt.
Okay. And then, I mean, you're a busy guy. I mean, you're basically in charge of you got a small team around you. Mm-hmm. You're a co-host of Benzinga Live during the day. What do you do? 11 hours on YouTube?
Yeah. So we like as a whole, we stream every day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. I'm obviously not on the entire time. Yeah. We have a morning show that's been going for, I mean, it's been going since before I joined the company. It's probably been going for 7 or 8 years now. Called Pre-Market Prep. I produce that. We've got a live trading show every day from like 9 to like 11:30, where we just hang out at the open and do some live trades and hang out. Benzinga Live is our midday show that I co-host. We've got an NFT show I'm super bullish on called The Roadmap because I'll be honest, I really don't know jack shit about NFTs, but I'm trying to learn. But those guys know way more than I do.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club.
Right, exactly. So we've got our NFT show. We have our crypto show, Moon or Bust. We have cannabis shows. I do a short at the close show every day for the last half hour of the market session. Who am I forgetting? I think I got everyone. I'm sure I'm going to forget someone, but I mean,
you just brought up crypto and NFTs. Now, I mean, I'm not a crypto guy. Russ is a crypto guy, and like he said, we know jack nothing.
Oh, easy on that.
We know jack nothing about NFTs.
I have like 3 cryptos, and half of them I don't even fucking know what they are.
Wait, I've got 3 cryptos too. Which 3 do you have?
I got Shiba, SafeMoon, and what do you call it? I just finally got rid of the last of my Doge.
Okay, that's not what I have. I have Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana.
You got the good ones.
Yeah, I got the good right. I got the good ones.
I got the.
Well, I'm not rich yet, so I'll let you know if that changes.
Let me ask you.
Well, speaking of being rich off that, did you have a few moments about a month ago where you thought you were fucking rich when they had that giant glitch in the market?
I that did not come on. That didn't fool me. Come on.
Well, listen, I had
Russ thought he was a millionaire. Russ thought he was a millionaire.
had a good 5 minutes where I was literally in my underwear, just about to get in the shower, and I was like, you know what? I haven't checked anything all day. Next thing you know, I got $56 million in the freaking bank, and I'm like, oh my god.
No.
All right, it wasn't that. Well, actually, no. What did I say it was? It was actually realistic, like 96,000 or something.
Yeah, it was like 100.
Crazy, but I was like, oh my god, what the hell's going on? But then again, my buddy brought up a good point. You can't even. It's still similar to a stock where you couldn't sell it because somebody's gonna buy it at that point anyway. You still got to get rid of it to somebody.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But I definitely had 5 minutes. Yeah, I definitely had 5 minutes of about to call my boss and be like, "Fuck you, fuck you."
No. It's not a gain or a loss until you sell. That's the catch. So
that's true.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on crypto and NFTs? Are they a fad? Are they just something that people is crypto something that people just invest with when the markets close on the weekend? And then NFTs, for me, it looks like it's just a picture. What's the story?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those? Because someone like me, I'm not involved in either of them.
Okay, I think anyone saying that crypto is a fad is beating a dead horse at this point. I mean, how long do fads last a decade? Because at this point, we're on a decade of Bitcoin.
Yeah, we are.
I don't think fads last a decade. Fads might last a year or two. I don't know if they last a decade.
I agree to a point. They've been around for a decade, but I don't think they become popular until say about 3 years ago.
Well, let's just call it.
I agree with you. They're not a fad.
Well, let's just call it 2016 because that's when shit kind of hit the fan at the end of the year. So let's just call it like 6 years. All right. That's an awfully long fad, right? And the fact that Bitcoin is still around is proof in and of itself. I have no idea where the future price of Bitcoin. I hate when people say, they call for $100,000 price order by the end of the year. I hate that because it's based off of like the wind, and it just makes no sense to me. I bought some because I couldn't stomach like not owning any at all in my overall like portfolio of assets. And so yeah, I'm bullish crypto. The thing is, I don't know how. I don't know whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's ETH. Like ETH has more functionality. I don't know if it's Solana. I don't know that. I just know that
you just want to be in it.
I just want to be in it.
You want to see where it goes.
Right.
Or even XRP Ripple, which.
Yeah, but isn't there like an SEC thing around that?
Well, that's the thing is if they clear their lawsuit, I think it's going to go crazy.
Well, I remember there was a very brief moment, and this is in the December 2017 when was it 16 or 7, whatever year, the first bubble, the first peak, right?
When Bitcoin went to 20,000 was there
was a brief moment where Chris Larson, the guy who created Ripple, was the richest man in the world for like a couple of days. And then he wasn't anymore. Right.
Well, I think eventually it came back down to I think it hit around $3,000-ish, and then it started its climb back up again.
Yeah. Yeah, Bitcoin, you're right.
Yeah, I got screwed on that one.
Yeah. So I didn't even own it then. So
I was going to what do you call it? I got one of my bonuses from work and I'm gonna put a couple grand into it. This is when Bitcoin was $700 still.
Yeah.
This was before that first bubble. And I was I was convinced put your money in Robinhood and try stocks. And stocks didn't go so well, and I watched Bitcoin go from $700 to almost 20,000.
Listen, but ask yourself this: would you have sold at 20,000?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, before that.
Yeah. Okay, before that. Before that, then you would have been crying all the way up. Oh, I sold at 10 and it went to 20.
I would have hit $5,000 a coin, and I would have been looking at $100,000 going, I'm out. It's the same thing. We have you hold a bunch of shares of a stock, and you always think like, if it hits this price point, but half the time you're not going to make it. You're going to get to 20-30% and get excited and go, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah, it's like we own a penny stock together, Russ and I, and it's like, all right, it's at 2 cents or a cent. If it gets to $1, we're rolling the cash and paying off houses. You know what? We're not going to have it when it gets to $1 because at 25 cents, we're probably both out of it and in Vegas.
Yeah.
So you just touched upon your assets and your investing and stuff.
Yeah.
What sectors are you in? What do you try to avoid? Like, what do you? I know you host the show and you talk about a variety of stocks. You have CEOs on and all that stuff that you do. But you as away from the show. What do you invest in and what do you like?
So let me just start with this. When I joined Benzinga, I did not know diddly squat about anything. I knew nothing about nothing. And everything that I've learned about the stock market, about investing, and not everything, almost everything has happened in the last 7 years. So let's throw that out there.
Mhm.
I have, and the other thing I'll say about like investing and about stocks in general is my favorite part about it is that there really is no right way to do it. The right way is whatever way that works for you. If it's owning penny stocks in your case, if that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. Then that's great. Nobody can tell you that it's not the right way. It's kind of like dieting in a way, right? There's a bajillion ways to do it correctly, right?
You gotta stick to your plan.
Right, exactly. You stick to you as long as you stick to your plan, then you're okay. The problems happen when you don't stick to your own plan. But so in my case, I like for whatever reason became really attracted to ETFs. There's a million things you could get attracted to. You could go into and become Bitcoin and crypto. You could become obsessed with doing deep fundamental analysis a la Roaring Kitty, right? And those guys. And you could get obsessed with charts and be obsessed with technical analysis and looking at your indicators and your relative strength and your Fibonacci and all that stuff. VWAP, whatever. Yep. I just my thing has become ETFs. I've fallen in love with ETFs. I think they're amazing. So in that regard, I've built my personal portfolio around ETFs. And I've spent a lot of time reading and listening to, other people much smarter than me about philosophies of investing and philosophy.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I am really a beginner at this shit.
Okay. Yeah.
ETFs, aren't they typically associated with high yield dividend stocks?
Well, the great thing about ETFs is they can kind of be associated with anything. There's basically an ETF for anything, right? Okay. There are ETFs for high yield dividend stocks, sure, but there are ETFs for anything. An ETF, all it really is it's sort of like the bastard stepchild between like a mutual fund and a stock in a way, because it's on the one hand, it's a basket of other stuff, like a mutual fund is a basket of stocks. ETFs are just baskets of other things, but they trade all day, just like stocks. They trade actively all day. Yeah. Price goes up and down all day long. So I got in my portfolio, it is the majority. I'm a pretty like safe like guy. I'm a pretty long-term guy too. So I've got the majority of my money is invested in two very, very broad. I have a U.S. stock market ETF. I have an international stock market ETF that are very, very broad. And then aside from that, that's where I do my like kind of my fun stuff. I own a few cannabis stocks, right? I own Disney, which I fully intend to pass down to my kids one day or my grandkids. I own SoFi. That's been an absolute piece of crap.
Join the club with PaySafe.
Yeah. I own I bought one of Kathy Wood's funds in when did I buy it? I think in February or March of 2020. I think. So I've got like one of Kathy Wood's technology funds. I've got an esports fund, cybersecurity. So
you're out there. You're all over. You have a good mix of things.
Trying to think. I think my favorite one that I'm proud of that I discovered on my own volition. And I'm not going to get rich off this, but I found this ETF that it's not super popular or anything, but its ticker is SRVR, and you will not get rich owning this. But it's an ETF that owns REITs, which are holds REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, and the REITs that are in this ETF are like data centers. It's all just like server facilities and data centers, and like I found that on my own. And I thought, oh wait, if we're all going like to the cloud and like remote and all that, like there's going to be a need for more data centers. So I bought that guy, I think also in 2020, and I was pretty proud of that one. I do own one share of Berkshire Hathaway, just so I get invited to the annual meeting.
The Class A or the Class B?
I've asked that question before to other people. If I owned the Class A, I would not be here.
I'm guessing that was an inside joke, but I'm going to assume that
the Class A is like 200,000.
Wait,
there's probably a large minimum to own that.
Well, wait, let's look it up right now. The quote, the Berkshire Hathaway Class A stock right now is $481,000 for one share.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Get the checkbook.
The Class B is $320.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I got.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think investing is I take it very seriously. I take it very seriously, but you should also have some fun.
So, what do you? Obviously, COVID is the big thing, and that's just different variants, and it's coming back, and it's going away, and travel stocks and hospitality and everything. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that for 2022? Do you think vacationing is coming back the way it was before? Is it going to be scaled back? Is that something you would want to be not all in on, but is that COVID plays or the hospitality play coming out of COVID? Is that something you're looking at?
In terms of like stocks?
Yeah, investing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. So like a lot of the quote unquote COVID stocks, right? Like the stocks the companies that benefited from the pandemic, right? Zoom, Peloton,
Netflix,
Etsy, right? Yeah. A lot of these these stocks just had huge run. Moderna had huge runs and have just like completely crashed, right? In the last 11 months or so, right? 10, 11 months.
I think people were over it. They made their money. They're over COVID, and I think most of it served their purpose already.
Well, right. That's certainly one school of thought. The other school of thought is that in Zoom's case, what did Zoom get to, like 480 or something?
Yeah, 450, 480, around there.
Yeah, and
it took a beating.
What is Zoom at right now? It's at 170. So the other thought is like, hey, it did it once, it could do it again. Zoom is not, and hey, I'm getting it for cheap, right? Because a year ago I would have had to pay 480. Now I'm only paying 170. But
Zoom may be one of those companies that could survive the future, because now there are a lot of companies itself that are transitioning to at a workplace.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough because at a certain point, we always say valuation does matter. The price you pay for something matters as it relates to their future earnings. The fact of the matter is, all these stocks, they got really, really expensive, and they're less expensive now, but they're still expensive is the bottom line. There's definitely a lesson to be learned there that price matters. Well, price doesn't matter until it does, and it definitely started mattering last year. I don't know going forward. I think if you want to have a little bit of exposure to like growth, that's totally cool. It's worth having some in your portfolio. If you are someone that's going to buy a stock and not sell it when it falls 20% and watch it fall 60, 70%.
We've been there before.
Yeah. Like you have to know why you own something. You know what I mean? Like if you bought Zoom in November of 2020 and you're thinking you were going to like get rich off it, and now you've lost, more than half your money. You have to know why you bought. Did you buy it so for the long term? Did you really buy it for a 3 or 4 or 5 year holding period? Because if you did, then why are you even looking at the stock right now? Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to add more, but don't think about selling it because it's a long-term plan.
Right, but yeah, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have some kind of a plan. Is the bottom line. And the people that don't are the ones that are getting screwed the most, probably. So I don't know. Is the answer to your question? I don't know about the casinos or the airlines or the cruise lines or technology or anything like that. My working theory for the year is that the whole stock market is just going to be up, down, just continuously, just like a pogo stick, just up, down.
Are you one of those guys that believes that everyone, not everyone, but when people say, "Oh, the S&P is going to dump 20% this year," or "Oh, the next crash is coming," or "The bubble's going to burst"? I mean,
oh man, I hate that. Okay,
right? Like, so when you hear all that, what do you cringe, and then what do you think?
I cringe so hard, Jerry. I cringe so hard. Okay, first off, the next crash is always coming, always. By definition, we are always on the way, just like we're always on the way to death. right? The next crash is always coming eventually. Okay. People say, "Oh, this won't end well." It never ends well. There is always a crash that makes it not end well. That's how markets work. It goes in cycles, right? But like people that spend their whole life calling for a crash, by definition, based on historical patterns, you're wrong like 90% of the time or more. Yeah. Do you want to be wrong 9 times out of 10? I don't.
I don't.
I'd rather
Sounds like
be right. Right, exactly. But like, yeah, so I think that like the decade, the 2000 to 2009, like that decade really messed with a lot of people's heads as they think about the market, especially the Great Recession, the financial crisis, because like, and that whole thing was that trade was, you know, glamorized in the book and the movie, right? I love The Big Short. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And I'm reading the book right now. But it broke people's brains, and it made everybody want to be like that and call the top and be the smartest person in the room for a moment. And then, but like, that's not really how markets, that was a once in a lifetime thing. That's not really how markets work usually. So I do not like it when people say, "Oh, S&P is going to dump 20% in the next month to," based off of what? It could happen. It could happen. Sure. It could definitely happen, but it probably is not going to happen for the reason you said it would, in which case you're right, but for the wrong reason. So you're kind of wrong. So yeah.
Now, let me ask you, how do you feel about Wall Street Bets and Reddit and all these social media, you know, groups, with the way that I don't even know if manipulate is the right word, but the way they can affect stocks and the market?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say manipulation, and frankly, the stock market is manipulated constantly. Okay, let's not like act like it's not manipulated all the time, right? By everyone and whoever can will. I've been on a subscriber of Wall Street Bets for, I don't know, probably since like 2018 was probably when I discovered it. It was pretty crazy to see the whole thing turn into like a place for jokes to a place that like actually moves stocks. I think like the idea that they did something wrong is kind of dumb, because like they're not doing anything that like other parties aren't also doing. The difference was like there's more of them because they have much smaller capital. There's much less capital, so there's more of them. But like everybody on Wall Street Bets combine all their money equals a couple hedge funds, probably, right, in terms of just capital. And they also do dirty tricks, right? Everyone does. The market is full of hucksters and people trying to pull shit. So no, I didn't think anything they didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty cool, honestly. It was a heck of a story. It was historic. It had like they literally broke a stock. They broke it. Yeah. And they broke the system. Like they almost caused the collapse of a couple retail brokers. The system literally was not designed for the sheer amount of buying pressure that they applied to GameStop, and then later AMC and also a couple others. But it was honestly like impressive the way they basically broke the pipes of Wall Street, which like nobody can say that, but they can. So.
And then it put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths where like Robinhood wasn't allowing for buying, selling, limiting this, limiting that. That made a lot of people. Go ahead, Russ.
I think part of the problem though is that while we all enjoyed watching the little guys win and it was fun, part of the problem too is they created such instability in the market as a whole, and it caused so much chaos. It also changed a lot of the ways that the big hedge funds are also thinking about how to trade now.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely affected the way those stocks trade and continue to trade, right? Like I know I've spoken to traders that are like afraid still to short GameStop. They're not going to do it. Like they are not going to short GameStop. Like the other day there was GameStop went up because there was a thing in the journal about they're doing an NFTs or whatever, and the stock decided to go up whatever 10%, and it wasn't even new news, and like you could have shorted it and made a couple bucks, but like people are like, no, they're literally afraid to short the stock because they saw what it could do, right? And they don't want to get run over.
now you're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of all that stuff. So people are like, oh, it's going to go back up. They're going to do their thing again. Get ready. You're going to start seeing some money pour into it the next couple of days or week.
Potentially. I don't know. But the whole thing about, it started off as a deep value trade that morphs into a short squeeze, and then it morphs into more than that. It was historic is the only way to describe it. It's never happened before. They could have only happened on the internet, right? And the whole thing was awesome to witness. It was amazing. Yeah, to watch the little guy like win one over, and let's not kid ourselves. A lot of hedge funds also made money on GameStop, right? Citadel makes money on both sides of the trade. They made bank on that whole thing. But to watch like the little guy win one over on, even if it was only a couple hedge funds, even if it was just Melvin Capital, to watch the little guy win one over on them was pretty cool.
All right, Spencer. I want to thank you for coming on. I mean, we did 50 minutes. This was great. I didn't expect a half an hour, but thank you for doing the extra time with us. This was great.
I lost all track of time. I was having fun.
What do you want to plug before you get out of here? Obviously, Benzinga. Your Twitter.
Yes. My handle is on the screen at SJ Israel. Benzinga.com, which is our front door. Check it out. Benzinga Pro, it's our real-time news and research platform, pro.benzinga.com. Check us out. We're on YouTube all day, guys. We're at Benzinga. Just search for Benzinga on YouTube. You'll find our channel. We're again streaming all day, every Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, sometimes later. If you tune in at any point throughout the day, you very well might see me. Come hang. We're very casual. We just kind of hang out and talk about the market all day and have some fun while we're at it. So check us out.
Awesome. All right. Russ, anything for Spencer?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right, Spence. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Go Yanks.
All right, buddy. That was fun.
I got to learn more about stocks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with full-time jobs and everything else going on, that's not just it's not our thing.
You seem like a fun, engaging guy, and I offer very little to the conversation other than sports.
Hey, let's get into some current events real quick. Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, our buddy Dingus is going to be upset. Megan Fox is off the table.
Oh, she's no longer available.
And again, who knows that relationship? Machine Gun Kelly's probably got her spread out across the table, laid out with fruit and taking acid. Hits acid.
Sounds like a great Friday night, Ross.
Listen to some of their stories. They do some weird shit. I don't know, desert and freaking doing all crazy fucking.
Yeah, so he popped the question, and she's now off the. She's no longer going to be available for anyone, but it's a Hollywood marriage. You know how long those seem to last. And Kanye dating again.
Wait a minute. Whoa. I think we need a bet here. I feel an over-under here.
Over-under.
It lasts more than a year. Oh.
All right, yeah.
Over-under a year.
Over-under a year.
Over-under a year.
We're talking marriage, right? We're talking marriage? Over-under a year. All right,
over a year from the day that they tie the knot.
I'm going under.
And someone just replied, I drink her shit smoothie. Listen, I've done some questionable shit. Megan Fox is one of the hottest women on earth. I don't care. Anything that involves feces is not okay in my book. But for everybody that loves her, she's off the table.
I'm going under a year for that marriage.
I'm with you on that one.
Somebody dipping their toes back into the dating scene. Kanye is dating again, and Kim Kardashian, who didn't even give any time with the any time between the breakup with Kanye, going right to Pete Davidson. Kanye is now dating again, and Kim has given the okay to the new girl for Kanye. She gave the approval. She said at least she's not a hater, and she approves. So I mean, I guess that's good. As Russ is hacking up a lung over there, we're gonna get into the NFL, and it was a doozy of a final Week 18. We're going to get into the Colts. Russ, your Colts left a lot of people flabbergasted. I got to tell you, they put up a stinker of a game. It was the last 2 weeks, honestly, for your Colts was win one and you're in. And they lost week 17. Then they lost week 18 to Jacksonville. Everybody pegged that as a win. And they got the doors blown off them. What happened to the Colts?
The Colts happened to the Colts. It's just it's kind of like being a Met fan. I guess everyone. Well, I mean, unless you're like a Patriots fan, and Brady was in there. Every other franchise, I'm sure a lot of us go through it. We just had that feeling. The game starts to turn. We just had that feeling going into certain games. Just the Colts are going to find a way to Colts themselves out of it.
I mean,
that's exactly what happened. We went in there and we let ourselves get our kicked. Our offensive line was surprisingly terrible for one of the best offensive lines in the league, and to no surprise, Carson Wentz was Carson Wentz and just looking more and more like we never should have traded for him.
First round pick you guys gave up, right?
Yeah. Listen, I would say we've done worse things like Trent Richardson, but
yeah, that was a bad.
But I don't know. This is turning out to be. He don't look like the fucking guy.
No, he doesn't. And we were discussing this off air earlier today. Obviously when he was in Philly, they put up a great start to that season, and he got hurt. Foles came in and they won a Super Bowl. This year, the Colts had a pretty good team. Jonathan Taylor's, in the league MVP discussion for 3/4 of the year, and then all of a sudden the doors fall off at the end again.
You gotta look at it like
Carson Wentz is the jinx.
You gotta look at it like this. You have a top 5 offensive line.
Yes,
you have the number one running back. You had a number 1 running back in the league this year.
Yep.
You had a defense that was ranked 10th in points against, and was ranked 1st in takeaways at 31.
Mm-hmm.
You should not be fucking 9-8.
No, you should. You should be in the playoffs. You should be in the conversation.
That's for me the weakest link was Carson Wentz and Frank Reich. And the reason that I say Reich is because we started out 0-3. And if you you didn't watch the fucking games, I did, but I'm just saying for anybody who did, a lot of questionable play calls, especially in the red zone in the first few weeks that led to either field goals or no points. But for the most part, I thought Wentz played pretty well. Down the stretch, I mean, shit, I would have rather seen Jacoby Brissett fucking back there than Carson. I mean, a handful of games just what it is I get that, he's not going to light it up and throw 400 yards and 4 TDs and whatnot, but we need him to be, goddamn.
With Jonathan Taylor, you don't need him to be that, right?
But that's the thing is, you need him to be serviceable and not make mistakes. We don't need a hero quarterback. You have a wonderful running game, wonderful offensive line. You need like the Alex Smith type, the guy that just could control a game, didn't do anything flashy, but he played a solid game and did not make mistakes.
Kind of
something like that is what we need.
Kind of like Trent Dilfer with the Ravens. You had a good running game, a good offense where Dilfer just did what he had to do, and the defense was your team. But the defense kept you in games, and the offense scored enough to win. That's how their team is basically built, right now. And they just poo-pooed the pooch, basically.
Yeah, that was quite. It's crazy because that was probably the most overall disappointing loss I've ever witnessed.
It was a bad one.
Now with that said, I somehow still went on to watch football the rest of the day. And the reason I'm saying that is because I remember when the Colts lost to the Steelers back in whatever it was, 04, 05, whenever Bettis won his Super Bowl. They and the Mike Vanderjagt missed field goal of the stupid idiot kicker era. I remember the games.
I remember a few Vanderjagt rants from Russ back then.
But I remember there was the NFC Championship game was after, and I remember I didn't want to watch it. Couldn't even sit there. I think this was more shock, whereas this was just pure disappointment from the first fucking quarter. And Yeah, I don't even know what I feel like shit watching it. I literally watched every game this year,
and then it ends
it's
like
just,
that.
It just ends like that. And we hit a stretch where we had, I think, 11 straight games with double-digit leads, and we only won 8 of those. We lost 3 of them, which were against the Buccaneers, the Titans, and the Ravens. And think all you needed was to hold one of those leads. You can't be losing. Listen, you blow a double-digit lead, okay. You blow
that's
3 of them.
Get fired.
You blow 3 of them in a season. Well, I think that's the thing is some people were quick to put it on the defense. If you watch those games, it wasn't so much about the defense as we jumped out to early leads and stopped our game plan and stopped playing. For me, that's what it was. It wasn't the defense. It was that I'm fucking gassy. It's the soda. I needed something to drink. We got out to a lead, got comfortable, and it was the same fucking thing over and over again. We let them just calm back into it. So,
and then moving along from that funeral, as we'll put it, to the 49ers had a heck of a comeback against the Rams. The Rams were I think I saw a stat 40-0 when they had a halftime lead in their coach's tenure, and this was the first
40-1.
Yeah, 40-1. The 49ers stormed back from a they were down 17-0, 17-3.
17-0. That was saying now. That was the next game. Yeah. I remember watching that, and it brought me right back in. I was like, all right, fuck, my Colts lost, fuck it.
and then that got the 49ers basically into the playoffs. They clinched the spot. And then one of the most exciting games of the year was the NBC 8 o'clock game between the Raiders and the Chargers. Now, Russ, Mike Tomlin came out and said he fell asleep during this game. His team is teetering on a playoff spot, depending on who wins or who ties or what. How do you fall asleep, number one? But number two, this game had betting implications, and this game had it all, right, Russ?
All I want to say is thank you to Mike Williams in overtime. Oh, man. I was shitting a brick for a little bit.
Watching this game, though, you saw watching this game, listen, you heard that Vegas was going to lose a boatload of money if this game ended in a tie, and that both teams would make the playoffs if it ended in a tie, and the Steelers would get bounced.
After the enormous disappointment of my Colts game, I still had the energy to stay up and watch this, and I ended up pacing in my living room during overtime with excitement that holy shit, this is really going to happen. First off, the comeback, the 16 points, in the last 4 minutes to come back. Holy bejesus.
Yeah.
It was quite exciting. And but going into that overtime, Brandon Staley, the coach, what an idiot. Listen, in the end, from what it appears, he got greedy and thought maybe I'll get the ball back and call timeout. But my biggest thing, I said to you earlier, read the room.
Yep.
Anybody reading that room with 2 minutes left saw the Raiders just casually strolling up to the ball, running a generic dive and basically saying, listen, we're not intentionally going to kneel the fucking thing, but we're just going to kind of run out the clock here. And you heard it from Carr after. Listen, obviously not going to admit that they purposely went for a tie. I'm sure there would be some sort of nasty implications from the league on that one. But he even said it. Whoever, let's just go with Pam Oliver. Sounds right. Susie Colbert, whoever interviewed Carr after the game.
Michelle Tafoya.
She said, did that timeout affect you? And he said, absolutely affected our strategy. And like I said, to me, and even if you saw Austin Eckler's response to one of the Raiders players, which appeared to say, we were going to just run it out. And I did listen. Everybody in America, aside from people that probably had bets against it, everybody in America was rooting for that fucking tie.
It was going to cost Vegas, $1 billion if that game ended in a tie? Between the parlays and everything else that was bet on that day?
I know, and after the money they already took a hurt from me for the weekend, they
Oh, you did put a hurt on them. I'll give you that. You did.
They were down.
But I got to say also, you play to win the game. So
it's a different situation. I understand what you're saying, but I think it was 2 minutes left in overtime. I think they understood the gravity of the situation. That listen, why even the Raiders, why risk anything stupid? Just hold the ball, run a generic running play. If something breaks, great. If it doesn't, listen. I think at that point it was we're not going to do something stupid to lose this game. And unfortunately, the Chargers did something. I can't say the Chargers. They played their asses off. The Chargers coach, Brandon Staley, did something stupid to lose his team the game. So, like I said, I think it just comes back to reading the room, reading the situation, see what's going on. There was no intent from the Raiders there to try to get the ball downfield.
Yeah, and then, I mean, honestly, it's a great story, but also if Vegas wins or loses, you got to look at the playoff matchup that's looming for them. Do you want to play the Bengals or
I said it before. Do you want to play the Bengals or the Chiefs?
Or the Chiefs?
Who gives a fuck? I'd rather play in
the playoffs than not play at all.
Playoffs and not play in the playoffs.
Yeah, but now the Raiders are going to play the Bengals, and they're not going to have to deal with the Chiefs. The Chiefs
not for nothing. Vegas losing $1 billion. Boo fucking who.
We'll get into our picks real quick after this, but Russ, right now, Matt Nagy from the Bears, Mike Zimmer from the Vikings, Brian Flores from the Dolphins, and Joe Judge from the Giants were the 4 casualties of Black Monday and the day or two after.
Zimmer, Nagy and Joe Judge absolutely deserve to be fired. I probably shouldn't even have made it through the season.
Yep.
Zimmer had his chances. He had and still has a very formidable defense in Minnesota, and a couple of years ago had one of the top defenses. And
they had a good offense a couple of years ago too.
Yeah, Kurt. Listen, you had Diggs, you had and listen,
they
couldn't get it done, and now they still have a decent team. I mean, you have Kirk Cousins at QB, but you still have a decent team, and they just couldn't do anything with it. It's time for a change for them. And I guess the shock is the Brian Flores thing in Miami, and from what I'm reading, it basically came down to Tua and the GM. Because now you're reading that him and Tua did not get along. And I guess
you're also hearing that he didn't want him drafted.
Yes, the Tua didn't want to draft that Flores didn't want to draft Tua, and that you basically you're either picking your QB and your GM or your coach. I guess because like I said, everybody was surprised. He actually led despite the 0-7 start. He actually led them, to a shitload of wins after and had a winning record. But, he wasn't as liked as we thought he was. So, originally, like I said, I thought it was just him and the GM, but now learning that it was him and a Tua problem, I guess I can understand, And
I think that's going to have to work. That might work against him down the line now. Obviously, he's going to interview with a bunch of teams just because the Dolphins had a great run where they won, 7 in a row? They were in the playoff discussion until the final 2 weeks of the season after being 1-7 or 1-8, whatever it was.
I still don't know how, but
but so people are going to talk to that guy now. But the biggest thing is going to be his voice isn't as big as he wants it to be. He wanted his voice to be heard with Justin Herbert being the drafted player, and Tua was a drafted player instead. So he might have that friction, or the idea of friction looming over him down the road wherever he goes.
Herbert's turned out to be one hell of a fucking QB.
Yes, he has.
I think you're gonna. I'm not a huge on Tua, but I think you're gonna. And I'm big on Kyler too, but I think the young kids coming out here, the Burrows and the Kyler Murray and the Herbert, I think we're going to be seeing them for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just get into the quick matchups real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. So Saturday,
we'll end it with our interesting video from the Panthers game.
Saturday,
all right, listen, Saturday we got the Raiders versus the Bengals. I'm on the Joe Burrow train. I'm riding the Joe Burrow train.
I agree.
Him and Jamar Chase. It's the Bengals, but I think listen, I'm down. I'm down watching the Bengals win a title.
So let me ask you real quick. Your pick before the season was the Browns and the Buccaneers. Obviously, the Browns aren't there. So are you riding the Bengals as your AFC team replacing the Browns? Okay, just making sure.
No, I'm not necessarily riding them. I have no issue with them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only because I do like the Bills as well. I like Josh Allen. I like the defense that they have there. I wouldn't mind seeing them winning either.
Okay.
Which goes into our next game, the Patriots at the Bills, which I still think 99% of the country is going to be rooting for the Bills.
Correct. I agree. They just don't like the Patriots or Belichick.
But I think that's going to be realistically, I don't see the Raiders-Bengals being that great of a game. I see the Bengals really blowing the doors off them. Pats-Bills, though, I think that's going to be quite
that's going to be a good one. Going to be cold in Buffalo.
Hey, Eagles-Bucks. My wife from the other room. Sunday. Oh, Jesus.
Listen. The Eagles are getting the doors blown off them this game, right? There's no. And we're not talking spreads either. We're just talking straight up winners. The Buccaneers are winning 9 times out of 10.
I think so. Yeah. Kind of got a soft spot for the Eagles. I like what Jalen Hurts has done. He's been a little on and off.
Been hurt.
Me personally, I love seeing Gardner Minshew in there, but what do you call it? I don't think they. I think they. You can't say they don't have a chance against the Bucs, but I do like what they've done this season. They did a quick little turnaround and basically said goodbye to Wentz, and now they're in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
So their future is looking bright. And listen, 49ers Cowboys. I know it's not the matchups of the Steve Young versus Troy Aikman era, but it does bring a little reminiscence of that 90s rivalry. If you're our age, back in the mid 90s, that was what spit something out. That was the matchup you looked forward to.
Yes.
It was like you looked Cowboys Niners in the playoffs, like NFC Championship was the shit. It was kind of like Western Conference hockey. It was Red Wings Avalanche. That was the shit. And I'm excited here. Personally, again, I think 99% of the nation is going to be rooting for the Niners.
I'm rooting for the Niners in that game. I'm picking them to beat the Cowboys just because I don't believe in Dallas. I never have the whole season. I'm surprised they won that division, but again, that division's crap.
Oh, I just can't stand that. They got the talent. I just can't stand Dallas.
I'm going with the 49ers that one. And then, Russ, you got Steelers Chiefs. I mean, is this another foregone conclusion as well?
Listen, I don't give a crap. I can't stand Big Ben. And then again, it's not that I can't stand Mahomes. I like Mahomes. I can't stand his girlfriend and his brother. It's so annoying. Especially Jackson. God damn, he's so annoying. But no, I am rooting for Big Ben. He can eat a dick. And then Monday night,
first ever Monday night playoff
game. Now I know the Rams were your pick.
My pick was the Rams and the Bills, and they're both still there, Russ.
I'm going fucking for Kyler Murray to run all over them motherfuckers.
I'm going with the Rams.
They're gonna beat them so bad, they're gonna wish that they were back in fucking St. Louis.
Listen, my football picks this year were absolute garbage. I finished the year 24-30.
This is the only thing you got going left. This is all you got going left.
If you give me my Super Bowl, I could forget about the 24-30 during the regular season. Rams, Bills, Super Bowl.
Oh, speaking of Rams, they just brought Eric Weddle out of retirement.
Yes, they did.
Everybody's fucking jumping on the train now.
Yep, I saw that today. All right, and real quick, last night there was a hockey game in Florida between the Panthers and the Senators, but the action wasn't on the ice. The action was in the stands.
Oh yeah, and Kodak Black decided that his seats weren't good enough. He got so he ended up getting a balcony suite here, and he's having a little fun. And I'm not gonna lie, he's got shit, man. I mean, how many people have ever gotten late at a hockey game like that?
If you watched last night, he was on the glass with his fiance, and they apparently didn't like the view or didn't like the atmosphere or whatever. And,
nah, man, just wanted to fuck.
And they moved up their viewing their viewing experience into a suite, and there's nobody in the suite but them. And
no, there's people in there. I think they were more like the maybe they're looking out or something. I mean, it looks like he's doing her in the butt. What can I say?
If you're watching the stream live and not listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify to the replay, obviously you're gonna have to go YouTube this. But
go look up Kodak Black Panthers game, and you'll see what we're talking about.
I mean, they're in the suite, and you got 4 seats, the aisle, and then 2 seats. And
you might want to wash those seats down when he's done.
She's bent over in the aisle, twerking or grinding or whatever she's doing. I mean, we all know what she's doing. And it just didn't think this was going to be going on in a hockey game, but apparently it was. And it's viral. It made the news. It's all over the place. I mean, Russ, you think this is good for hockey? I mean, is it bringing some eyes that normally wouldn't care about it because of this expedition of affection?
Publicity is good publicity. I don't think it matters either way. I think it's more of just what the fuck.
I mean, she's on all fours, and he's holding on to the seat in front of him, from what I see. And they're going to town. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Hey.
It was great.
Some people got more than they bargained for watching this hockey game.
All right, that's going to wrap up episode number 31. This was the season 2 premiere. Russ and I will be back next week if we're alive.
COVID.
Obviously, you can find us on Twitter at the E.A.T Podcast. Russ on Twitter is at WrestleMania61. You can find me on Twitter at Jerry with the Mic. And we're available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well at the E.A.T Podcast. The upload for that will be tomorrow. And we'll post out our NFL picks for the week. We're not going to do with spreads or anything like we used to. We're just going to put out our winners on Saturday morning for the whole shebang of the weekend. And we'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a good night from New York. Take care.
Good night from New York.